Guys, welcome to Origin. So, new policy when it comes to drama. I have my blog for that now, so anything at all that relates to drama I will put on that blog. And there has been one that's come up recently, involving a YouTuber that I mentioned in my last video, JJ Talks. My last blog post was about the recent drama, and I'm not going to talk about the details in this video. I'll link that blog post below, but I really want to talk more about a lesson that can be learned from not just this drama, but pretty much every drama that I know about really the entire time I've been on YouTube. What a lot of them have in common is they've basically been caused by people jumping to their worst possible interpretation of something that was said, something that was done. It just seemed to be, as a general rule, whatever the worst possible conclusion you can come to about what that person believes or what that person has done, that is the truth. And it's, you cannot question it. That is how I feel, and I'm going forward with that premise in mind. And the other party does the same. And so, obviously, what happens in those situations is the drama escalates. It never comes to any kind of conclusion, certainly not one that benefits anyone. And there's a number of schools of thought. Either people jump on the bandwagon to get views. I don't think any of us can really claim to somehow be above that. I think we've all done it to some extent. Or we just get sick of it, or we pretend to be sick of it while, milking it for views, or whatever it has to be. All that to one side. The lesson here, I think, is very clear. There are many different interpretations of a particular situation, and I want to give an example, not the most recent one, maybe one that's a bit more well established, just so that we don't, just to be sensitive to what's happening now. Let's take Elevator Gate. This is a textbook example. Rebecca Watson goes to a skeptic conference in Dublin. She gets in an elevator, we would call it a lift, with this guy. He says to her, hey, you want to get coffee sometime. She's obviously there alone in a country she's never been to before. Understandably, not best pleased with what this guy has said. So they go up and, but that's the end of that, until she makes a video sometime later on outlining the situation, and then she says the horrifying phrase, guys, don't do that. And it's said pretty much exactly like I just said it now. And I think the reason why this one ballooned so massively is because Richard Dawkins was one of the first to weigh in on it. His, infamous Dear Muslima post. So what did we have? We had Rebecca Watson misinterpreting, taking the worst possible interpretation of what this guy was saying in the lift. You have Richard Dawkins taking the worst possible interpretation of what, she said, guys, don't do that. All, tons of other people doing this as well. Possibly some, Richard Dawkins fanboy stuff, making this view central, and it all kind of ballooned from there and went on for years, and arguably this on some level to this day. And nothing has been gained from this at all. All that happens is you make an enemy. there are no words, are there? So, the lesson: if there's a situation and there's multiple possible interpretations, instead of trying to instantly assume the worst, think, well, maybe they don't mean it that way. Maybe they're trying to be nice and they're just, they're a bit clueless. They've said something the wrong way. They've done, just think about what they're saying. Think about what they believe. Think about what you know about the person. I do this as a matter of habit. And I find that this is actually very beneficial. The end result is, I don't really hate anyone. Sure, I can get angry at people, but I don't have any kind of lasting hate towards anyone because I'm always able to look at, to put myself in other people's shoes and say, well, maybe they didn't mean it like that. Maybe there's a better way this can be interpreted. Maybe they meant well. Of course, on the other hand, maybe they didn't. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but I ask you, what approach is better? The one which can only engender more conflict, or the one which brings about more understanding, forgiveness, and, heals wounds? And, to anyone involved in this most recent drama, it's unlikely that JJ Talks is going to see this video. It's unlikely that there's a particular YouTuber, not JJ Talks or Coughlin, that's involved in this as well. She's made a claim about Richard. She would benefit from this advice, I guess you could call it, as well. I don't want to be too. Well, I mean, when I've given advice in the past, other people haven't taken it very well. Especially, there was especially an incident involving me and Mendham a couple of years ago. He really didn't like the video that I made to him. He went right off on a rant about it in his second response. But when I offer advice, I'm doing it because, well, as I say in this video, with the best of intentions, with the idea that people can benefit from an attitude that doesn't paint people as the worst possible versions of themselves straight off the bat. So that's just what I wanted to say here. Let me know what you think. I mean, maybe there's times where, a more skeptical, more cynical view of the situation is warranted, but I would argue if instead of jumping to your worst possible interpretation, you jump to your best, just as, a starting point at the very least, you have more productive, more fruitful discussions and you have a healthier outlook on anything. But yeah, tell me what you think. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.